Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Maybe go to this before we can start because it's so loud.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Days.
Here.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Present.
Councilmember Fitch.
Here.
Councilmember Gray.
Present.
Councilmember Clancy.
Here.
Councilmember Tracus.
Present.
Councilmember Harder.
Here.
Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion for approval of the journal of the meeting of October 22nd, 2019?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The October 22nd, 2019 journal is approved. At this time, I move to suspend the rules in order for the adoption and presentation of a resolution honoring Rick Stream for his 50-plus years of service to the community of Kirkwood and the Kirkwood School District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The rules are suspended.
Please read resolution number 1.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 1, introduced by Councilmember Fitch. Whereas Rick Stream has been among the most public service-oriented residents of St. Louis County for decades, devoting his life to furthering the general welfare of the people of Kirkwood, both as an elected official and a private citizen, boosting all things in Kirkwood. And whereas, notwithstanding the public record reflecting Rick's achievements as a public officer, it is likely he will be most remembered as a forceful advocate for the Kirkwood School District, serving students, faculty, administrative staff, and families of the district for nearly 4 decades as a school board member and president of the board of directors, and as the organizer of several important and successful school initiatives and projects. And whereas, without Rick's dedication to the improvement of the district, the Kirkwood School District would not today be at top level of school districts in the state. And whereas, for all he has done, Rick is deserving of every accolade for his work on behalf of the residents of the city of Kirkwood and the Kirkwood School District. Now therefore, be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the County Council extends its gratitude to Rick Stream for a lifetime of service to the Kirkwood community and its best wishes for continued success. Section 2, the Acting Administrative Director shall send a certified copy of this resolution to Rick Stream as a permanent testament to the council's esteem and admiration.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 1.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on resolution number 1, there are 7 ayes.
Resolution number 1 is adopted.
Thank you. Rick, on behalf of the entire council and the county executive, I'd like to thank you for all the work. 50 years is a long time, and we hope you're around for another 50 years to participate. Not you? So, anything you want to say?
Thank you all for the resolution, I appreciate it. I know how many people are going to be here, I just had to nail it.
No, we're here for you. We're here for you.
All right, we have no bid openings this evening, so we'll move to communications.
Mr. Presiding Officer, we have no tax compromises, zoning matters, or road and bridge matters this evening, so we will move to other communications. Under other communications, item number 1.
Receive and file, save for motion for item number 2, and that will be the order.
Item number 3.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposals be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 7.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 8.
Please drop from the order of business, and that will be the order.
Item number 9.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion for item number 12, and that will be the order.
Item number 13, second district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare appropriate legislation.
That will be the order.
Item number 14, fifth district.
Receive and file.
That will be the order.
Item number 15, sixth district.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 16, first district.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered. Please read the add-ons.
Under other communications, item number 1.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 2, sixth district.
Receive, file, and the agreement be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3, fourth district.
Due to the fact that an incorrect version of the letter was placed on the agenda, I will drop from the order and place on the agenda for next week.
So ordered. Report of the the county executive.
Thank you, Ernie. When I became county executive 6 months ago, we knew we had a lot of work to do. We had to restore trust, we had to make government work better, and we had to start tackling our biggest challenges. Last week, we had a setback towards those goals. We can't trust county government if it appears that some of our county employees aren't always telling the truth. We can't make county government better if we aren't treating all of our employees fairly. And we can't tackle challenges like equity in our community if we have those challenges within our own organization. In the trial last week, the honesty of our police officers and inclusion in the police department was called into question. And we hear those concerns, and we're going to be moving deliberately and seriously. Honesty is trust foundation. If you can't believe what someone is telling you, then you can't trust them. Sometimes truth is hard, but we have to face the hard truths. We must always hold ourselves and our employees to the highest standards of honesty and integrity. Inclusion is a hallmark of county government, but we aren't there yet. I told county employees yesterday that county government hasn't always done a good job of addressing the concerns of women, people of color, and our LGBTQIA community, especially in the workplace. We can do better, and we will. We must build a culture where employees know that they are valued and respected. We must implement practices and policies that guarantee every employee is treated with dignity. The changes we make must be serious. We must address our challenges boldly and unambiguously. We need to know who is being left behind and why. We can only lift up everyone when the obstacles holding them back have been removed. The best way to start is by listening. Monday morning, I met with a group of LGBT leaders. Later in that day, I met with Hazel Irby, the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, to understand some of the programs that she was working on. We also met with the Anti-Defamation League, and they have begun building an implicit bias training program. We'll be making some serious changes in the police department. A fresh perspective at the top is vital to the success of our police department and to St. Louis County. I've been working for weeks to identify potential members of the Board of Commissioners of the Police Department, and I've been talking with Chief Belmar about his future and how these changes might fit into his plans. Serious change is needed to promote equity and inclusion in county government and throughout St. Louis County. We must do a better job of removing barriers to success that disproportionately affects marginalized people. It's sad but true, in 2019, we're still talking about these issues. Whether or not to treat people fairly, regardless of gender, race, or gender identity, really is not something we should even ponder. But the answer is definitely yes. Whether to ensure equal opportunity to everyone in our county, no matter their identity, really isn't up for debate. How we deliver on that obligation is what we need to understand. 5 years ago, the national spotlight shined a bright light on St. Louis County because of race and equity issues. The next time that bright light focuses on us, we need to make sure it's something that we're proud of. The work we do together over the next few years will determine whether or not we can have that confidence. I look forward to working with each of you as we renew our commitment to make St. Louis County a welcoming place for all of its residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Report of special committees. The Ethics Committee will continue to hold that on the order of business. Tonight, we have 39 speakers for public forum. Now, as all of you know, council's rules limit public forum to 60 minutes and provide you with an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. So tonight, given the number of speakers, and we want to hear from you, I'd ask a number of things. One, if you're here with a group of people and you all have the same message, I would simply ask that if you won't let 1 or 2 people speak for your group and you insist on speaking, consider the fact that we've got so many people to go through, and if you could just say, I stand with or I agree with, instead of eating up the whole 3 minutes, that would be helpful. Secondly, because of the number of speakers, I will hold every speaker to a hard 3 minutes, meaning I will give you a 30-second warning, but when 3 minutes comes, your time is over and you'll be asked to vacate the podium. And then finally, I would like each of you to address the council, meaning address your remarks to us, not to those in attendance. You're here tonight so that we hear you. And in order to do that effectively, I would ask that you focus on the council and address your remarks to the council. All right, so with that, Madam Clerk, please call the first citizen.
Yes, sir, and we will call the first name and then the person following so that that person can then get ready to come to the podium.
First speaker, Zaki Baruti, followed by Warren Williams.
Good evening, Ms. Baruti.
Good evening. Just 1 second. Just waiting on this. First of all, I hadn't even started. You clocked me. So would you re-clock me, please?
Excuse me.
First of all, good evening to the council people. I come again, first of all, not only to speak to you, but to the audience. And I'm
Mr. Baruti, I'm going to ask you again, sir.
Mr.
Baruti.
In support of what we are for, would you please stand? Everybody who's in support.
Mr. Baruti, I'm going to ask
All right.
you to direct your remarks to the council.
I am.
Thank you.
I am. And I'm directing these comments because our community, as you say, there's a lot to be done. Absolutely, there's a lot to be done. And that's dealing with the racial and sexist behavior of your officers in the St. Louis County Police Department. And I'm here to say that something must be done to eradicate that. Starting with the firing of Officer Nicholas Newberry for his racist and sexist, insulting and humiliating treatment of a 63-year-old black woman, stopped at 2 a.m. in the morning. We cannot tolerate that, and every woman up here ought to be outraged, and any sensible man ought to be outraged. So we say unequivocally that he needs to be fired.
At Bell.
And what?
At Bell.
And shout out for Belma, I'm saying publicly, we don't give him a chance, Shaheed, because he did the right thing by firing the other 2 officers.
Direct your remarks
And
to the
we
council,
are
Mr.
going to
Baruti.
say that he needs to fire Newberry.
Please, sir, let him speak.
So on that note, along with that, we say there has to be an effective civilian review board with subpoena power, as well as it needs to be an end of the racial discrimination within the police department, as evidenced by this article, a black cop leaves St. Louis County Department amid racial tension. Miss Nikki Brown. We gotta put an end to that. And any types of agreements of ratifying these kinds of issues need to be dealt with those who are on the ground floor. It was good that you met with Executive Page, some people of the community, but where were many of the leaders in this room? Why were we not invited? So I'm saying, if we do not
30
want,
seconds, Mr. Brody.
if we do not want St. Louis County in focus again, you need to deal with, again, the firing of that racist and sexist police officer
Chief Bell.
named Nicholas Newberry.
Chief Bell.
So again,
Sir, let him speak.
those are my remarks.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Warren Williams, followed by Millicent Williams.
Good evening, members of the council. I am the husband of Millicent Williams. I'm a former St. Louis police officer of over 38 years of service and a former deputy commander of the Internal Affairs Division. This officer, Newberry, what he did to my wife on April the 2nd of this year should not have happened to my wife nor any citizen of the state of Missouri or less St. Louis County itself. This officer did stuff that is conduct unbecoming a police officer. No officer has the right to stop the movement of any citizen in this state or city or county for no apparent reason and do what he did to my wife. Body searched her, cursed her out.
That's right.
Searched her vehicle, handcuffed her, and not once ever telling her why she was being stopped or what she had done, which turned out to be nothing. And then to get a letter from the police chief that says this action will be taken care of. We found that this man, his actions was sustained, and we're going to do what we need to do to get rid of him. But all they did is gave him an asshole, and that's it. Thank you for the response. Thank you.
Please hold your applause. When you applaud, the microphone can't pick up what the speaker is saying.
Next speaker, Millicent Williams, followed by Anthony Shaheed. Shaheed. Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman.
Good evening.
I'm that 63-year-old black woman that they're speaking of. It was 2 o'clock in the morning on April the 2nd. I was heading west on Page, getting ready to make a sharp left to go down a very dark street that I'm very much familiar with because that is my area. It only usually takes me about less than a minute to get down that street. Of course, a police officer came behind me, and at that time I did not know it was a police officer. All I saw was bright lights. But I adhered to the fact there was bright lights behind me, so I reduced my speed to bare minimum, going down this very dark street, which is on Lackland. He continued to be on the back of my bumper, just as bright lights, blinding me. But when we get to a dark parking lot, he puts his siren on, and I continue to go. But I put my flashes on as well, letting him know I adhered to him behind me. Again, I had no idea it was a police officer because all he had was his bright lights blinding me. I get to the end of the corner, which is Chutes Road, and I get to 7-Eleven, which is where I was going, to a lidded area. I parked my car. He came to my car, but as he come to my car, I'm looking out my side mirror. He unfastens his holster. Of course, now I'm panicking because all I can think of is a mistaken of identity. I'm thinking I'm a dead woman is exactly what I was thinking. Had no idea why he was pulling me over. I put both of my hands on the steering wheel and said, "Officer, I have both of my hands on the steering wheel. How may I help you?" He said, "Don't you know to pull over when you see a police car behind you?" I said, "I did not know it was a police car because I did not see the car." He said, He said, ma'am, you don't know a police car when you see it? I said, I did not see the police car. He said, get your ass out the car. I get out the car, immediately put my hands in the air and say, my husband has been in the city for 40 years. He's a retired police officer. He said, I can't believe your husband's a retired police officer and you don't know a damn police car when you see it. Again, I said, all I saw was bright lights. He told me, turn around, stretch out your arms and spread your legs. I turned around, stretch out my arms, spread my legs, and he began to frisk me out my body. This has been over 6 months ago. I just urinate on myself, and every time I see a police officer, I'm urinating. I'm literally wearing the pins because it is so fearful. I don't know about the council. I really don't know exactly what you all do, and I'm coming to you because it's been brought to my attention. Bring this matter to your attention. You have to be in that position to know. I have not been able to sleep for 6 months, and I continue to call to find out, is Newberry still on the force? What is it doing? Like they said, I get a letter saying, we're taking care of it. I called to make appeal. They said, there's no need to appeal
20 seconds.
because it's been sustained. All allegations that I told you what he did to me, told me, brought me to the end of the corner, handcuffed me, told me sit your ass on the back bumper. I couldn't sit on the back bumper. My pants is wet. My arms behind my back, up my back. So there's nothing I can do. So really adhere to what I'm trying to say. Newberry definitely needs to be terminated, and no police officer should be allowed to be standing on the force for
Mr. Shahid?
Read the first name, last name.
Go ahead, Mr.
I'm gonna
Shahid.
start off saying fire Newberry and Zelma. It's a culture around here. I'm gonna be honest, the first time I ever heard you speak, you caught me off guard. Ain't no sense in me lying, I never heard no white boy talking like that. I really haven't. So I'm really caught off guard that you even think about meeting with everybody, even though I think you should be meeting with some of the other ones. But I thought you was just like the rest of them. And I don't know if you're lying or not, but I'm just keeping it real with you. But it's a culture here. You know, that's why they do the things that they do here in Clayton, is because it's a culture. You know, anytime Belma can write a letter for a dope dealer, he don't write one for no black dope dealers. You know, and y'all know he did on a letterhead. I already knew him and Stinger wasn't no damn good when I put my finger in Stinger's face. I already knew he wasn't trustworthy. But the mere fact that y'all letting them do that, and now talking about paying $20 million, maybe y'all got a lot of money just to be paying folks, but that ain't right. Y'all know it ain't right, and you know how that sister being treated. I don't see that but nothing but a white boy frisking a black woman, putting his hand all between her legs. He really raped her. He really raped her. Ain't no black man gonna sit and do no white girl like that. Ain't none one of y'all up here think no brother gonna put their hands between y'all legs, and y'all know y'all wouldn't let that.
That's right.
You know, so I have a real problem with that. That's why if you see me, I stood up when y'all did the Pledge of Allegiance. I didn't pledge no allegiance. I stood up and took a knee like Colin Powell did. Because of the mindset that y'all get. Somebody gotta make y'all understand that 5 years is right back again because y'all bringing it right back. What happened to Ferguson 5 years ago, y'all want it to happen again if you don't stop what happened. Ain't nowhere in the world that sister should be talking about she wanted the pins and act like y'all ain't affected. And I'm surprised they stand up. I'm really impressed. I'm just caught off guard. No, I'm real straightforward. And I don't understand how y'all do that, but Chief Bellman should be fired. Uncle Bellman should be fired, you know. For him doing the things he's doing and the way y'all letting them get this stuff off here and the mindset they got. Ain't no word that sister Nikki, is it Nikki Brown?
Nikki Brown.
Nikki Brown. Ain't nowhere in the world all these things should be happening to black folks like this, and black folks take this. So what I'm gonna do for my last 30 seconds, I'm gonna take a knee.
All right now.
Is coming. Sick of this crap. Some of you guys will be leaving.
Okay, 10 seconds on me. Fire bell! Fire bell!
Next speaker, I cannot read the first name, last name Jones, followed by Renee. I'm sorry, I cannot read the last name. Cornell. Thank you.
I stand before you on the 6th of November of 2018. I was pulled over in Dalewood by one of the county corporate police officers. And he came to my car and he said, "Sir, do you realize that you have one license plate?" I said, "Certainly, because Arkansas only issue one." And then he went on to try to eradicate about all this and what have you. But what I found was that this untrained fool with a badge and a weapon standing beside my car. But he came with a nigger agenda, but he didn't find a nigger. And I cooked him right outside of my car. I immediately, when he got through, I went straight to Dalewood City Hall, filed a complaint, had the chief call me. This is the writing they left on here. And he went to his car and tried to come up with some jabber that Arkansas supposed to have 2 license plates. I told the chief, if King Kong could get a badge and a weapon, you put a suit on him. Because they need help. All they want to do is secure the contract. That's what you said about this, how this keep happening. You have to realize this institution of police is racist from the ground up. Yes. We are dealing with masters, yes, descendants, yes, following his, yes, blueprint. Yes. These are all master descendants. And they don't have one thing in charge is to keep niggas in place. That's their agenda. So you don't be surprised until we come together. Correct. I am a Vietnam vet. I have shared with other people. I am a black man that went to Vietnam undeserving. But in order to try to catch a bullet for some deserving white man, son, like Trump, that would be killed in their state. But God forbid, I went through Nam, I served 1 year, never fired a weapon, never carried a weapon, but more importantly, never got fired. So God brought me back here. If I must die, let me die.
Mr. Jones, please address the council.
That's okay.
No, because the microphone won't.
I don't care. I didn't talk loud enough for 2 nights. And I don't even have any teeth. I'm going to get my teeth come Wednesday. Then I'm going to be marching on to victory. So all I have to say is that we have to keep going and do not become passive. When these things happen, document it. That's the law requires that they only here to document. For those who follow Darwin, he said when Homo sapien man first stood upright and made his first mark in the cave, it's still there. That's what document means. So anytime these things come about, don't go running and talk to your friends or your relatives. Go put it on paper. Like why I came today.
Your time's up, sir.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Renee, I can't pronounce the last name, followed by Natasha Troop.
Renee?
We won the next one.
Natasha Troop, followed by Larry Freeman Jr.
Good evening. I'm Natasha Troop. I live in Hazelwood District. I'm here again regarding my nephew, and I hear you say pretty words every time you're here, pretty words. You talk about honesty and transparency. You've yet to give us an audit. You promised my sister of that jail. You do nothing but reward bad officers. You got Belmar. He's nothing but corrupt. But yet you steady keeping him. It's costing y'all millions of dollars. Y'all got $145 million. Y'all already, what, 21 million in? And you got almost $1 million for a dog for y'all bad officer. Now you got $20 million for don't want gay people in your community. I'm talking, what do y'all want? Y'all don't want black folks, you don't want gay folks, you don't want nobody. Okay. Y'all sit right up here with your soft faces. Everybody got an agenda up here, but not the agenda for the community. Say that. A 63-year-old woman was molested on the road, but he ain't fired. But if a black man had molested that white woman on the road, you'd have sent her to jail. We'd have went to jail, no problem, no question asked. If a black officer do half the things the white officers do, we would be fired. But y'all steady. Y'all keep them. Look at the jail over there, full of bad people, but you steady reward them. Y'all got people making money that shouldn't be making money. But the community ain't got nothing. Nothing. I don't see nothing in our communities, but I see millions of dollars y'all spending. So what are we gonna do? Should we all stand up and get y'all out of here? That's the first problem. People don't understand. 2020 is coming. These seats needs to be taken back. Your seat I already see is being challenged. It needs to be gone. Everybody else up here, y'all seats need to be gone. You're doing nothing. Nothing but costing us money. My tax dollars are going to people getting rich. Overnight over something they shouldn't be getting rich over there. We winning lotteries out here, off the county. Are we serious? And y'all sit up here and y'all keep gonna reward them. What is Dog doing over at the jail? Y'all put a black face in and thought everybody's gonna be quiet. That's not the problem. We need some work done here. Don't keep telling pretty words every Tuesday. Do some work. Work. That's what we need out of this work. See, you tell us don't come up here and stand and talk about the same things. This our time. We talk about what we want to talk about. You don't get to tell us that. Our 3 minutes is our 3 minutes. If I want to step here and talk for her, that's my right.
30 seconds, ma'am.
I got 30 seconds and you right. I'm going to use every last one of them. You're rude every time you come up here. Anytime black people, somebody got something to say. You hurry up and want to get them down. It's 30 minutes. It's 15 minutes. It's 10 minutes. Well, your time should be up. How did you get that seat? He shouldn't have had that seat. Irby was supposed to have that seat, but black folks couldn't get that seat. You snuck your way in. Why are you there? Why she not there? It's supposed to be all the people above. Y'all are after Irby and all y'all still sitting up here.
Time's up, Mr.
Have a good day.
Next speaker, Larry Freeman Jr., followed by Deborah Earp.
Good afternoon. Yes, sir. My name is Larry Freeman, and I'm here supporting Mrs. Aki Baruti, and I'm a proud member of the UAPO. We're here to represent Ms. Millicent Williams this evening. This is a letter from the Office of the Chief of Police. A very thorough investigation of your complaint has been completed by the Bureau of Professional Standards. All of the investigative findings have been given to me, and I have carefully reviewed the entire incident. I hope you will accept my sincere apology for any aggravation caused by this incident, and I want to assure you that this steps have been taken to prevent this occurrences for happening in the future. Sincerely, Colonel John Belmar. So what that tells me is that's an admission of guilt. That's an admission of guilt that something was done wrong. This lady here didn't do anything. My aunt, Barbara Payne, I think you may know her, the wife of retired police officer, Chief of Police Lee Payne of U City. This very well could have been my aunt. Is not acceptable, and I sincerely believe in my heart 70% of the police department are very, very good people, hard-working Christian people. But again, we have that 30% that are no better than common thugs, and that's the 30% that we need to work on. The only resolution that we're looking for today is the firing of Nicholas Newberry of the St. Louis County Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Next speaker, Deborah Earp, followed by Ann Cashel.
Deborah Earp?
Oh, sorry, we couldn't hear you.
I don't think that I should come back.
So are you choosing not to speak, Ms. Earp?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next one is Ann Cashel.
Followed by Don Motion Ross.
Good evening. I'm here for a different subject. I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't remember your name, but I do want to apologize for you. It's very emotional to hear what you went through. I'm very sorry.
Appreciate it.
My name is Ann Cashel. On November 8th, along with all the other St. Louis County Animal Shelter volunteers, I am being terminated. I've been a volunteer at County since 2012. I have served on the now defunct advisory board since 2015. I have walked dogs, filled kongs, cleaned kennels that had poop up and down the bars. I've been a volunteer mentor. I've recruited volunteers. I have taken pictures of cats, dogs to help promote adoptions. I've adopted my sweet beagle from the shelter. I worked with rescues to pull dogs. I have fostered dogs with rescues to get them out of the pound. I've sat with shy, nervous dogs and calmed them. I have for almost 8 years asked for access to help the poor dogs and cats in the back. We still don't have access. I have been an advanced Yellow Dot volunteer. I have over 15 years of progressive volunteer experience at multiple shelters and rescues. I have been a vocal animal advocate and a voice for the animals. I have never seen volunteers treated so poorly. The lack of oversight and transparency is appalling. The lack of caring in the well-being of animals in your care is inexcusable. We won't be silenced. We won't go away.
You're on the clock, man. You're on the clock, Ms. Cashel.
I am calling for change, real change, lasting change, serious change. I am calling on animal advocates. I'm calling on St. Louis County residents. This is your animal shelter. Be vocal, get involved, show them that we will not continue to be ignored while animals suffer. My name is Ann Cashel, and on November 8th, along with the other volunteers at the St. Louis County Animal Shelter, I am being terminated.
Thank you, Ms. Cashel.
Next speaker, John Motionross, followed by Kiera Braxton.
Hi, Sam, it's good to see you. Mr. County Executive, President, members of the council. My name is Don Motionross. I'm here in support of the loop trolley. I wish all these folks were enthusiastic about the loop trolley as I am. But the loop trolley is something that I think is representative of what we believe makes St. Louis great. Something old, something new, but a venture that captured a bygone era and provides us with a glimpse into the past, which is remembered as less than serious and far less complicated. The startup of the trolley was difficult. It continues to be difficult. We've run into issues that we've had basically no control over and couldn't fix. You have stated in a variety of ways that you're concerned about the trolley also. We have been doing our level best, and I say we because I'm on the board of the Loop Trolley Company, to solve and address these issues, and so far we've had some difficulties. But the one thing that I guess one of the reasons I got involved with the trolley from its beginnings has been a cooperative endeavor between the federal government, St. Louis County, the city of St. Louis, the city of University City, Metro, and the Loop business community. This cooperative endeavor has tackled economic development, job creation, infrastructure repairs, and repairs and replacement. Private sector investment, both in the city, have really begun to start and move, particularly on Delmar Avenue, one of the boulevard. One thing we really can't see, but there's a sense of community both north and south of Delmar, sometimes called the Great Divide. I think this demonstration of cooperation has been important for all of us to understand, to build upon, and continue. I am very concerned if we walk away from the loop trolley, we're not making the right decision. If we abandon our cooperative effort, we will be admitting that St. Louis region may not have the ability nor the will to muster our collective capability to keep this project on the rails. The loop trolley is a symbol of what has made and makes St. Louis a wonderful place to live, work, and play.
Thank you, Mr. Motion Ross. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Kara Braxton, followed by Bryce Kirkland.
Kira Braxton.
Grace. Good evening. My name is
Good evening,
Kara
Ms.
Braxton. I am one of 4,700 county employees, one of 4,200 employees currently on payroll. The employees of St. Louis County are all in a financial crisis. We are being robbed in broad daylight by our elected officials whom we, the people, have entrusted the responsibility of holding office, mainly the county executive seat, who has the greatest responsibility, as it is he that submits the budget for the entire county. Are you all aware that the vast majority of county employees earn less than $36,000 a year? And according to your predicted inaction, will be making the same $36,000 per year after 18-plus years of service, according to a retirement benefit simulation, which gives that poor employee a mere $1,000 per month retirement. Why is that? Because this county government has not resolved this unfair merit increase freeze problem. This reality strikes every chord of my humanity and common sense horribly wrong. I say it is unfair because year after year, our elected officials have refused to resolve this merit increase freeze problem. We, the employees, have allowed this egregious failing on your ports for 11 going on 12 years now. Your time of kicking the can down the street has to end now. Across the board, flat rate and Prop P increases is not merit increases. A merit increase is a higher wage rate paid to an employee on the basis of an agreed upon criteria such as efficiency and performance. When will the charade that you all have our best interests at heart end? Where is our next generation of county employees? I'll tell you where they are. They come to our departments and they earn more out the gate than those of us with years of dedicated work to the county. We train them, and in 6 months to 2 years, they use us for experience and go elsewhere. Each of you should be, this is what we received in an email this morning. Dear county employees, each of you should be respected, valued, and treated with dignity. That's what you deserve, and it's my job to keep that promise. Sam, I need you to keep that promise, because I am listening to what you say and watching what you do. And right now, for the 4,200 employees on payroll, it's not adding up. Mr. Finch, Sean Rohde's salary could be better spent for justice services on corrections officers' uniforms. They are in desperate needs of new ones, and 2 pieces next year is not enough. See you all next Tuesday.
Thank you, Ms. Braxton.
Next speaker, Bryce Kirkland, followed by Jenny Agnew.
Good evening, Mr. Kirkland.
Hello. You know my name, huh? My name is Bryce Kirkland. I'm from Creve Court. I guess if you want someone to do something for you, you have to tell them why it is good for them. So here I am tonight. I'm a case manager that came over here for almost a year and fighting for Proposition P pay due to us being left out back then. I've been watching heavy of what's been happening with the county government. These are trying times for all of us. It's a shame we live in a society where you have to beg, complain, and gripe in order to get results rather than just getting it off your own merit. I'm here tonight for merit raises for all 4,000 St. Louis County employees, since we can't get an annual cost of living raise. There is no pay freeze with county employees when personnel approve special wages for some and not others. Charlie Dooley has told us good job, Steve Stinger has told us good job, and now Sam Page, you're telling us good job with the hard work that we do. First few years, was maybe our fault for staying, but then after 12 years, come on, it's not our fault no more. Martin Luther King says the time is always right to do what's right, so let's have this discussion. I realize I realize there are bigger issues like crime, metro, trolley, and litigations, and so on and so on. I can go on, but St. Louis County employees are home. If you can't take care of your home, who are you really going to take care of? Kennedy said, let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past, which might have been Stinger, but let us accept responsibility for the future. So I'm telling you, your employees' future depends on these merit raises because most people are behind the 8 ball when it comes to their retirements. How can one work their entire life and career here and never reach the near end of their pay scale? I'm asking these leaders before me tonight to lead and come up with a plan for raises for all St. Louis County employees as soon as possible. See you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Next speaker, Jenny Agnew, followed by Melissa Rousen.
Jenny Agnew?
Good evening. Before I begin, I wanted to share some exciting news, which is that long-timers Spud, Marco, and Cora have all been adopted. Last Tuesday, I broke up a dog fight that caregivers could not manage at St. Louis County Animal Care and Control. The next day, I received an email from Carol Baskin stating that I am suspended. 3 staff members have complained about me. Another staff member said that I spoke at an inopportune time after the fight when all they needed was assistance. Later that day on Wednesday, I made a post on social media about my suspension and experiences, about how I have been speaking out for a year, and now I have been suspended. That post gained some traction. 2 days later, volunteers, all 450 of us, received notice that we would no longer be allowed to volunteer after November 7th. Beginning on November 8th, we can reapply. If our application is accepted, we will then individually interview with 3 staff members. If we pass the interview, we will then attend an orientation. Once we are back in the system, we will be put into tiers, with the highest tier held as a reward for those of us who don't rock the boat, for those who do not speak out. I and other volunteers feel as if county is retaliating against us because we have spoken out about problems there. We have been a voice for the voiceless, and now we are being silenced. What is St. Louis County Animal Care and Control hiding?
Clarifying question for Dr. Agnew.
Dr. Agnew, you want to come back up here for a moment, please? Go ahead, Councilwoman Dunaway.
I would like some clarification on what happened in the dogfight. After the dogfight, would you say that the 2 staffers that worked for Animal Care and Control were traumatized?
One was sobbing and the other seemed to be stunned, yes.
And how did you treat them in that traumatizing moment? It's just a question.
They should be trained to take care of those dogs.
I'll ask you a question.
She's a volunteer.
All right, so
I'm just trying to understand what happened.
Councilwoman has asked a question.
Why did you go volunteer?
If you folks cannot comport yourself properly, I'm going to ask that you be removed, right? So please, let Ms. Agnew answer the question. Thank you.
First of all, I was also traumatized.
I'm sure.
Have you ever broken up a dog fight?
I have not.
It's upsetting.
I walk with a cane. I have enough problems. I can't break up a dog fight.
Okay, so it was upsetting.
I'm sure for everybody.
So I said, you don't break up a dog fight that way. I said, you don't pull latch dogs apart. That's what I said.
Okay, and I want to know, did you respond to them in that moment the way you would want to have been responded to had you been one of those two staffers?
I think I'm done here talking.
Thank you, Dr. Stagner. Ms. Rusin? Madam, if you continue, I'm going to ask the officers to remove you. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Rusin, please.
My name is Melissa Rusan, and I live at 10710 Wordak Avenue in unincorporated St. Louis County.
Good evening, Ms. Rusin.
On October 25th, the volunteers received an email stating that we were being terminated as volunteers after November 7th. We were told that we would need to reapply after November 8th to become a volunteer and interview to determine if I am eligible to be a volunteer again. I didn't even interview 3 times to be a director for my company, and I make 6 figures. So, as an active member of my community and the rescue community, I should not have to meet with 3 people to determine my worthiness to walk dogs, socialize cats, and help get animals into rescues or homes. I have personally been instrumental in helping place over 20 dogs in homes or rescue in the last 10 months. Instead of wanting to collaborate with us volunteers in the rescue community, they are wanting to make their jobs easier. The management has decided to retaliate against us volunteers and terminate our ability to save the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in dog walking, cleaning cages, cleaning poop, and all that stuff. We have brought light to concerns that we deem are vital to the welfare of animals that are housed at animal control. I can provide you many examples of specific dogs who were deemed dangerous, dog aggressive, or sick that are now in healthy and thriving homes. Please help us, help them. They can't speak, otherwise they'd be here. That's why we're here, to speak for them. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Rusin.
Followed by Michelle Kritza.
Joseph Hatton. Good evening, Mr. Hatton.
Good evening. I apologize, I actually had something written, but my wife rewrote it, so I do apologize. My name is Joseph Hatton. My family and I have volunteered for county for nearly 2 years. We also have 3 foster dogs pulled from county that were on the brink of being euthanized. We were able to give them the opportunity to decompress from the stressful life at animal control and find a situation where they could actually live out their lives. I have been very concerned about what's going on in the county, and I'm not even more alarmed with the fact that they have announced that they will be doing some cleansing to the volunteer group. In 9 days, none of the volunteers will be allowed to help until a lengthy application process is completed, which I think is very much ridiculous, so I can't really believe. We sacrifice so much for these animals because we care. Forcing us to only reapply will leave the animals without the help that the staff desperately needs. Please consider this reboot of the volunteer program, that this is really outrageous and ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaker Michelle Kritza, followed by Heather Henderson.
Good evening, Ms. Siston.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kritzis. I live at 9848 Gerald Drive, 63128. I've been a volunteer dog walker at the St. Louis County Pet Adoption Center for 1 year. The first dog I walked was Minnie. Minnie was a beautiful girl and she was euthanized. On November 8th, along with all the other volunteers, I am being terminated. For the month of just September, volunteers put in 1,360 hours at a cost avoidance of $29,546. The thousands of hours volunteers provide each month not only translates to thousands of dollars in free labor, but also involves volunteer assistance to staff. This includes everything from walking, training, cleaning, reporting health concerns, photography, videography, and getting to know the animals for networking purposes. Dr. Baskin's current plan for county seems to be twofold: preventing the outbreak of a disease and reducing bite risk. Volunteers play a vital role in achieving both goals. Stress from being in a shelter makes an animal more susceptible to disease and can lead to undesirable behavior. Sick dogs and dogs easily trainable behavior issues sit and wait in county, usually longer than necessary before they are adopted. Volunteers walking dogs, getting them out of their kennels, aid greatly in the lessening of shelter stress. Volunteers are also witnesses to much that happens at county. And like any American citizens protected by the First Amendment, if we see something, we can say something. Dr. Baskin's closing of the volunteer program is related to this. One of her recent publications is on how the scientific community needs less government oversight and less transparency. What county needs is transparency and compassionate oversight in its management. To quote Spring Schmidt at an advisory board meeting in July, where the volunteer hours came in at a cost avoidance of $34,737, we can't do this without the volunteers. Dr. Baskin believes volunteers are unnecessary and are not required. Dr. Baskin says dogs don't need to get out. Dr. Baskin does not work with the dogs at county. Dr. Baskin is so wrong. I'd also like to point out that there is no vets at county, and we have dogs that are waiting for weeks to get neutered. There's adopters, they're ready to take them, they can't go anywhere. Mizzou was supposed to come, they did not approve the budget, so Mizzou left. So now Mizzou probably won't come for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and we have adopters come and actually visit their dogs, and they can't go.
And they can't leave.
They can't leave because they're not spayed or neutered. And it's so dysfunctional that, like I said, there's no vet, and they get a truck to come in, and they can only do the smaller dogs. They need to get organized to do the bigger dogs. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Linda Lowhouse, followed by Ed Gokerman.
Hi, good evening. My name is Heather Henderson. I'm a resident of St. Anne, Missouri. And I'd have to ask County Executive Page, do you recognize me? Sunday I had Spud. I was Spud's caregiver, care protector on Sunday. Wasn't he a great dog? We are so lucky. Spud actually went home at 4 o'clock today. He found his forever home. So I'm one of those dog walkers who's getting terminated November 7th. Not very happy about it. We are a passionate, dedicated bunch of people who care about those animals very deeply. You become very attached to them. And who is going to advocate for these animals when we are gone? Who is going to speak up for them? I know this much. I am still going to come to the shelter every day. As a potential adopter and a taxpayer, I can show up there and I can visit those dogs in the get acquainted room, and I have every intention of doing so. But that's not enough. Those dogs need to get out and be walked and socialized. Michelle hit on a very good point. We have several large dogs, and they're not spayed and neutered. They came in as strays, and they cannot be adopted until they're spayed or neutered. There's a dog named Professor. He's a great dog. Someone came in, a couple, to adopt him, but they were going to have to wait a month to get their pet. They found another dog. The list goes on and on and on of dogs. There's Romeo. There is Moon. There's so many dogs that cannot leave the facility until they are spayed or neutered. I beg you, please, please reconsider this termination of the volunteer program. But better yet, fund some vets to come and adopt these animals. Please, I'm begging you. So, I want to thank you for your time and your consideration, and please, please listen to our pleas. Oh, that sounded good. I'm begging you to listen to our pleas to help these dogs. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson.
Linda Lowhouse, followed by Ed Gokerman.
Linda Lowhouse. Good evening, Ms. Lowhouse.
My name's Linda Lowhouse. I live at 4339 Marty Ridge Court in Oakville. By now, you have heard of the volunteer program being terminated on November the 8th. Some of mine is redundant, so I'm kind of winging it a little bit here. I have found no other rescue or shelter in the area, including Stray Rescue, Care St. Louis, Humane Society, or the APA, that requires this rigorous of an application process that they're requesting that we now go through. Each of the aforementioned require only a volunteer application and an orientation, training, or mentoring shift. County's new process is obviously meant as nothing more than a deterrent to discourage existing volunteers. And I ask, who will absorb the approximate 300 hours per week of volunteer time that will cease for weeks and possibly months that it will take county to re-interview hundreds of existing experienced volunteers? Unfortunately, it seems the already stressed and short-staffed kennel workers will have to bear the burden. And the animals, they'll bear the burden too, potentially costing them their lives, as some will most certainly deteriorate as a result of this. As a county resident taxpayer, I ask why the resources, i.e. volunteers, within our own community are not better utilized. Why is County Animal Care and Control wasting the time of 3 paid employees to sit in on hundreds of individual volunteer interviews? In the real world, when a business changes policies, they don't terminate all their employees and rehire new ones. This is a monumental waste of time and taxpayer money. If there are new policies and manuals that need to be implemented, that can be accomplished with a volunteer meeting. I would expect better management of our tax dollars, but most importantly, as a civilized society that is more and more recognizing dogs and cats as sentient beings who have individual personalities and who can perceive and feel fear, anxiety, and suffering, we have a duty to care for their physical and mental well-being beyond basic feeding and warehousing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed Golterman, followed by Garrett Mees.
Ed Golterman. Mr. Golterman.
Garrett Mees, followed by Beth Wasserstrom.
Wow. Wow. You know, Sam, your first opening statements tonight about hard truths. Wow. I've heard a few of those tonight. When it comes to accountability, on the other hand, I haven't seen very much of that. You know, that's not really entirely what I came here to talk about. I heard about trolley money, you know, giving trolley money. Wow. We want 3 empty trolleys running down the tracks to prove that 2 wasn't enough. And you want to know why the federal government won't give us any money? It's like, well, I mean, even Steve Stinger wouldn't touch that one. Okay? Really? Seriously. Okay? When it comes to Mr. Tracus here being condescending and that to black people, well, I'm sorry, he's like that to everybody. Because he's actually told me flat out that I'd better never challenge his fortitude ever again. In a phone call I had with him regarding the next matter. You see, I've been dealing with an issue in St. Louis County with a business that's been given a license against county ordinance. I've submitted a quite lengthy sunshine law request, and quite frankly, it's all summed up in one piece of paper that I got just this afternoon. St. Louis County Ordinance 617.225 should be referenced in 602.370 to prevent issuance of license. Well, that means it should have prevented the issuance of the license in the first place. Because it says very clearly right here that it should have never been given, and yet it was. This is one piece of paper. I've got a whole plethora of them coming. I can tell you flat out, the FBI has been contacted along with the Attorney General of the state.
You have 30
I will get to the bottom of this. And somebody might be sharing a cell with Mr. Stinger.
Next speaker, Beth Wasserstrom, followed by Christina Kozlowski.
Good evening.
Good evening,
My-
Ms. Foster.
My name is Beth Wasserstrom, and I live at 9500 Crockett Drive. And I'm a volunteer at the animal shelter until November 8th, when my kids and I will be terminated. I stand with what the volunteers have said. I've been up here enough that everybody knows my message, and I don't need to add too much more. The group behind me is the most compassionate, dedicated group of volunteers I've ever had the privilege to work with. And I cannot even begin to eloquently add anything more than they've already have told today. We can barely go one day without volunteers at the shelter. Our packed shelter this Saturday, at a call for help from the volunteers to come up to front and help with the doctors and to stop walking dogs, is proof of that. It's like that most weekends. A few weeks ago, I asked Spring Schmidt and Carol Baskin to move the shelter issues away from county council because of all the sensitive topics, and I didn't feel like this was the place where we needed to address our issues. Our issues are actually pretty easy to correct. It doesn't take a lot. We feel like we could get where we needed to with the few tools and appropriate management of the resources. The shelter concerns should be addressed in a manner that works to engage the resources in the community in constructive dialogue. Spring Schmidt and Carol Baskin would only agree to a meeting to go over to changes in the volunteer manual. I asked if we could show a semblance of engagement since the shelter is in crisis and the weary volunteers have been providing upwards of 400 hours a week in care, but apparently not. I also remarked that almost no volunteers had even met or seen our current acting director, Carol Baskin. I emphasized an introduction would be a great way to start. It's kind of sad that I even have to suggest that. We were offered no such introduction, and only after the first presentation screen stated that the shelter is not required to have volunteers did someone from the packed room ask for the speaker to identify themselves. The suggested changes in the volunteer manual showed an absolute lack of understanding and total indifference for anything concerning the welfare of our animals. Our well-respected volunteer coordinator was again bypassed for input.
30 seconds, Ms. Foster.
Clearly, this is yet another poorly executed attempt to get a check mark in the completed column of the audit. If the volunteers are terminated, I have serious concerns about the safety of the employees, about the people who are coming through the shelter. Today, I just delivered the last of 7 air horns I purchased for the shelter. We've had multiple altercations. The staff and volunteers have asked repeatedly for emergency tools. I know from experience it is frightening to be all alone in a room screaming for help.
Sorry, Ms. Watson.
300
Your time is up,
volunteers
ma'am.
will no
Your
longer
time
be
is
there
up.
to help,
Thank
so
you.
it's the least that I can do.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Christina Kozlowski, followed by Tracy Dieter.
Hello, my name's Christina Kozlowski, and I am also a volunteer at Animal Control. However, on Friday, November 8th, I will be terminated thanks to the new policies. I have been a volunteer in animal welfare for 5 years now, and I joined county back in April thanks to the pleas of these lovely volunteers who showed me that it was necessary to get involved and make an impact. So in October, I've spent over 30 hours volunteering just this month alone, on site, walking dogs, cleaning kennels, taking photos of cats and dogs for county to use on their website to market these animals in lieu of their terrible intake photos. If you look at the cats online right now, every one of those photos I took except for one. This time doesn't include all the time that I spend at home volunteering, whether it's editing photos or networking animals to send to the volunteer coordinator. And this is on top of my full-time job that I'm working like most other people here. Without volunteers, I'm at a loss for how the dogs will get adequate walks and the mental stimulation needed to keep their sanity. Or will they all go stir crazy and management will decide they should be killed because they've declined? This is just one problem with terminating volunteers. Other speakers tonight obviously have or will touch on the other important issues we're seeing in animal control every day. Instead of wanting to collaborate with the rescue community and volunteers, it seems like the management has decided to retaliate against us volunteers and terminate our ability to save the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars annually through our volunteering. So we have brought to light concerns that we deem vital to the welfare of the animals housed at County Animal Control and will continue to do so week after week if needed if things don't change. Please help us help to them. They cannot speak for themselves. That's why we're here. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Ms. Stavasky.
Next speaker, Tracy Dieter, followed by Michael Dewing.
Tracy Dieter.
My name is Tracy Dieter. I am not a volunteer at the shelter, but I am a rescue volunteer and have concerns along with the rest of these people about the problems at the shelter. So I'm going to start off with the words of County Executive, Mr. Page, this week. And this is one thing I can agree with. He said, "The time for leadership changes has come and change must start at the top." Unfortunately, he was not talking about the shelter. And then think about this next statement, how it could apply to the animal shelter. Our department must be a place where every member is respected and treated with dignity. Wouldn't that be amazing if we were referring to the animals that are suffering in the shelter employees who are trying to do the best they can with the lack of resources that they have, and for the volunteers who have given the county thousands of hours of free labor. So we have problems that the audit exposed, which are well known. We have no full-time vet on staff, so they can't get animals fixed and vetted and to the adoption floor, coupled with the fact that there are twice as many animals in the shelter as there should be. And now apparently the volunteers are being dismissed who were doing the majority of the walking of the dogs, among other things, so that now the dogs will not get walked or out of the kennels, making even good dogs go kennel crazy, which they will then use as an excuse to euthanize them. So, I honestly want to know, why is St. Louis County its own worst enemy? Why would you waste taxpayer money by not using the resource of the volunteers? Other than to try to control the information that's coming out of the shelter and reduce the transparency. Why are the cleaning protocols not followed? Why is the contaminated gravel still there? Which causes the dogs to get sick and increases the length of the time at the shelter,
30 seconds,
which
Ms. Dieter.
increases the cost of housing them. The termination of the volunteers when the shelter is already in dire straits demonstrates the incredible poor judgment and lack of understanding by the current management. Stop wasting taxpayer money. The time for leadership changes has come, and change must start at the top.
Thank you, Ms. Dieter.
Speaker, Michael Dewing, followed by Gracia Raskin.
Mr. Dewing. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here, I'm actually a St. Charles County resident, but I have one of the dogs that they've referred to tonight that was saved from animal control. He was pulled by a rescue one day before he was euthanized, considered dog aggressive by animal control. He now lives in a pack of 3, very happily. I have fostered him with another dog that were introduced together. They've met, they get along well, and we've brought a puppy into the mix. Just to give an example of animal control's inability to assess a animal's behavior. The county sounds like it has a lot of problems tonight as I got here. You seem to have problems with the police force and treating people equally, well, let's not forget that all lives deserve equal treatment, and these animals deserve these animals deserve respect. These animals deserve to be treated with the same respect as any canine officer is deserved. And these animals should be treated with the same respect as any canine officer, the same as every human in here should be treated as the same respect as any officer in here, because we are all humans, we are all lives, and we matter. These dogs need help. No one's looking out for them. You're doing the exact opposite. There was an audit conducted. The audit said that volunteers should have more access to their dogs. What are they doing? Getting rid of the volunteers. Why do we have an audit if we're not going to follow any of the instructions in it? The audit also says that the volunteers should be social marketing these animals, putting them on social media, marketing them to people. What is being done? They're being told when they go back into this new volunteer system that they won't be allowed to have their phones, so they cannot capture any pictures of the phone of the animals, so they can't capture any pictures of the deplorable conditions that these animals are living in. This is animals are being treated criminally. If any of us were treating our animals the way they are being treated in animal control, we would be prosecuted.
Rabia Raifid, followed by Ernie Strofkamp.
Hi.
Good evening, Ms. Roth.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Rabia Rafiq. I live at 13146 Royal Pines Drive, and I'm a volunteer at St. Louis County Animal Adoption Center. I own a business in Town and Country, Missouri. I own a business in Ferguson, Missouri. I'm an outstanding law-abiding citizen, and I'm being fired as a volunteer. I take time away from my busy practice and my personal time to volunteer at this shelter. Many people ask me why I take so much time out of my week to volunteer. I don't enjoy scooping dog poop. I'm actually allergic to dogs and cats, and I hate the outdoors. But when one of my patients came to me in tears, begging me to spread the word about this shelter needing help, I decided to step up. When I arrived for the first time and saw the state of the shelter and the way that the animals and volunteers were being treated, I was saddened to say that this was happening in our great state of Missouri and not a third world country. How embarrassing. I don't know who Dr. Baskin is, but from doctor to doctor, I'd love to have a word with her. My first dog that I walked at the shelter is named Nez. The last dog I walked is named Romeo. I've never been to one of these hearings because I honestly don't think they create change. But seeing how many people behind me are standing for the same reason, I feel like something may happen. I dedicate my time and ask for nothing in return. For the sake of animals like Little Miss Diamond, my favorite dog who was euthanized with no heads up for me to say goodbye, please don't fire me. I will not be silenced, and I will not stop until something is done. My name is Dr. Rabia Rafiq, and instead of being thanked for my service, on November 8th, I am being terminated.
Thank you, Dr.
Speaker Ernie Strofkamp, followed by Lynn LeBob.
My name is Ernie Strofkamp. This is not needed. I don't get to volunteer because I'm not a fan of Stinger. I was told you would do better. I don't see it. They don't see it. There's too much going on that you can control, that they want to control, and you won't let them. I got 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Tell me why.
Mr. Strachan, just to address your remarks to the chair, please, and
this
is your time to speak, sir, not to ask questions.
But isn't that what we're here for?
No, sir.
Shouldn't you be here to let us know that what we're saying means something?
This is a public forum, so this body can hear What
But do
issues
you?
are of concern for you?
Do you?
Yes.
I watched every one of you as I sat back there. Everybody came up here. Every one of you sit over there and look at that clock to see how much time is left on there.
This one here just sits and smiles.
You know, it's ridiculous. You say no, but you do. I sat there and watched it.
I haven't looked at the clock.
Okay. Well, do me a favor. The next one you decide to kill, give this to me.
Thank you, Mr. Strawcamp.
Lynn LeBob, followed by Shannon Tyrell.
Ms. LeBob, go ahead.
Sorry. Got my eyes back.
Please proceed.
Yes. Hi, I'm Lynn from unincorporated South County. I sat in the, on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund hearing today. I'm still processing the information I learned, but one thing that stood out to me is I kept hearing one reason for the fund is for social and racial equity. However, if you look where these funds will have to be spent, it is only in the low-income areas. How will that lead to equity? It seems to be, after listening to speakers, most of them were connected to developers and non-for-profit organizations. Where were the citizens? I will be telling my neighbors in unincorporated District 6 that once again, others are wanting to bring more low-income area to our neighborhood, while other neighborhoods won't change. Council members, don't be blinded by the smokescreen of the developers and non-for-profit tactics. St. Louis County already has programs in place to help those in need.
Thank you, Ms. LeBob.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Shannon Tyrell, followed by Tom Solomon.
Hello, I am Shannon Terrell. I live at 4 Deerfield Road, 63124, and I'm a newer volunteer to the shelter starting this past July. So not everyone cares about animals, but most people care about money. So I have decided to devote my 3 minutes of time to talk about money. The taxpayer-funded shelter should be a good warden of taxpayer dollars and provide quality care to the animals that they're charged with. I have highlighted 4 areas from the audit and ACFA guidelines that this shelter is not currently doing or is failing at. But however, the 501c3 nonprofit volunteer group, SAVE, along with the shelter volunteers, are doing. So one is marketing. The animals are being marketed by SAVE. They have quality photographs and witty and clever descriptions for each animal that we are providing for free. Second is networking that's been recommended. This group has a vast network and connections with rescue groups. I'm unaware of what the shelter is doing, but all of the animals that have been saved in the time since I have started there have been saved via volunteers, not the shelter. The next thing is fundraising. I understand that the shelter gets taxpayer dollars, my dollars, I understand that. But SAVE is actually fundraising for heartworm treatments and attaching money to animals to get them out of the shelter into rescues. The last thing is exercise. The ACFA Section 4 requires adequate exercise for animals. Not only is this required by law, it greatly reduces the behavioral problems that are developed due to shelter stress. The more exercise and enrichment, the better the behavior, which increases the odds of adoption. Most organizations would recommend that volunteers provide this to free up paid staff. This would require a positive relationship with volunteers. Firsthand, I can attest that the shelter has been difficult to partner with. It's evident with their announcement that they will be terminating volunteers November 7th and requiring a cumbersome process to reapply that will deter many. Currently, volunteers provide between 1,000 and 1,500 hours of free labor a month. That equates to between $29,000 to $34,000 a month in savings as reported by the monthly shelter report. These hours of free labor include cleaning
30
dirty
seconds,
kennels,
madam.
bathing dogs, walking and exercise stressed cage animals, and what it really equates to is picking up a lot of poop that we're saving the staff from doing. So please hear us, because these taxpayers, they're also voters, and are providing this money, would like their fellow taxpayers to advocate for the animals, because county is not.
Thank you, Mr. O.
Next speaker, Tom Sullivan, followed by Jennifer Malley.
Mr. Presiding Officer, earlier this year during the first week of April, a poll was taken of St. Louis County residents. One of the questions was, do you think St. Louis County is headed in the right direction, or is it going off on the wrong track? More thought the county was on the wrong track, 40%. Later that month, Steve Stinger pled guilty to corruption charges, and County Council Chair Sam Page became county executive. At a council meeting in which he shut out all competition, prevented citizens from speaking, and then proclaimed open government and transparency will restore trust in county government. After all this, the 40% probably went to 50%. Then we have more recent events. All by himself, the county executive wants to provide 18 county police officers to patrol MetroLink in the city. What about more protection for parts of St. Louis County that are having problems? Then last week it was learned prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell has spent $30,000 on travel and meals. Wesley Bell has also cost county taxpayers $170,000 for settlements, the result of him firing people in his office. Then there was Friday's verdict that could cost St. Louis County nearly $20 million for discrimination against a police sergeant. The number who believe the county is on the wrong track no doubt climbed even higher. County Councilor Beth Orwick completely failed to protect county taxpayers in the lawsuit. When appointed by the county executive, he hailed her as a really smart lawyer. If so, she should have never let the case go to trial. Once it looked like the lawsuit was headed south for the county, she should have settled it for a whole lot less. That's what smart lawyers do. I'm glad Jake Zimmerman is running for county executive, and I hope others get in the race too. I think St. Louis County voters deserve choices. Maybe someone who can put the county back on the right track. Thank you, Mr.
Sullivan.
Next speaker, Jennifer Malley, followed by Amir Brandy.
Jennifer Malley. Good evening, Ms. Malley.
Good evening. My name's Jennifer Malley, and I'm a resident in South St. Louis County. I'm a volunteer at St. Louis County Animal Care and Control, and I'll be terminated on November 8th. Volunteers are a huge factor in the successful transition from shelter to home life. A lot of everybody else who's spoken has basically touched on what I was going to talk about tonight, but for the most part, for the months of July, August, and September, volunteers have provided the shelter with approximately 4,500 volunteer service hours, which equates to approximately $97,000 that the county saves. If the volunteers aren't there, who will help the animals? Terminating the volunteers on November 8th will be a death sentence for these loving animals that have no voice of their own. We are their voice. Please help us help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malley.
Next speaker, Amir Brandy, followed by Willie Boyd.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Brandy.
August 31st, 3 o'clock, around 3 o'clock at the Galleria Mall, Mr. Terry Tillman was killed. This investigation has been going on since August 31st. The officer providing media with the intel in reference to what happened indicated that there was 158 cameras. This is 60 days that we still haven't had closure in Mr. Tillman's death. There is a videotape. I came here 2 weeks ago and I told you that the videotape was available to some of you. And at the end of the day, not one of you indicated that you wanted to see that videotape. You're not interested. You sit here and you smile. Mr. Trackus, he indicate what St. Louis County actually looks like. He shows no concern. Some of you show no concern. At the end of the day, people are dying. People are being pulled over, harassed, killed. Children are being hit by cars that indicate that they were not in a chase. People are being killed in the same manner, indicating that they were not in a chase. At the end of the day, when are you going to do something? When are we going to see some results? I'm a St. Louis County taxpayer. I like to know what my money is being spent on. Not $20 million going to an officer who, has some internal problems in the department. And I agree that I work in a law office with 7 of the best attorneys. And at the end of the day, I would think that they would evaluate whether or not they had a good chance to win, and they would determine at some point that it is in the best interest of the taxpayers. Because if you were paying out of your pockets, I bet you'd think different. At the end of the day, we got schools that are failing. We got police that indicate that they're being underpaid, and they've even got a pay increase, which they haven't earned yet, in my opinion. At the end of the day, when are you going to do something besides sit there and look at us as if we're speaking a foreign language? Coincidentally, I was in Jamaica this weekend, and we call it a third world country, but they indicated, I know 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm sure you was going to say that. At the end of the day, they indicate that if a police officer over there that we identify as a third world country, if he were to pull his weapon and shoot somebody, there would be a thorough investigation. And this is what we call a third world country. So the people over there, they feel safe. I felt safe over there. And when I came back through customs, I saw an example of what not feeling safe started at that moment.
Time's up, sir. Thank you.
Next speaker, Willie Boyd, followed by Lori Klingbeil.
Evening, Mr. Boyd.
My name is Willie Boyd, and I'm here to support Millicent Williams, the 63-year-old woman who was pulled over and was basically molested by Officer Newberry, and I'm asking that he should be fired. And I'm also asking that Chief Bill Meyer be fired also. There's been a culture of corruption in the county ever since I was a 20-year-old. I remember being pulled over on Lucas and Hunt in West Florissant by 2 white officers when I had come out to purchase a car. Me and a friend of mine named Marcus Townsend, we was taken over behind up a hill, I think it was an Emerson plant. And the officers pulled firearms on us and told us to confess to an armed robbery of a restaurant because we looked like the suspects. And that discrimination, since I was 20 years old, still continues. Still continues. And we have corrupt officers that cover up this kind of conduct and abuse people, and there's nothing did about it. We had a $20 million suit being lost by the county because officers were lying. They were caught lying, and the jury didn't believe them. That says a lot. You got the chief of police lying, and the jury didn't believe him. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr.
Next speaker, Lori Klingbeil, followed by Angie Zorich.
Hi, I'm Lori Klingbeil. I live in South City, St. Louis.
Good evening, Ms. Klingbeil.
Good evening. I have been volunteering for St. Louis Animal Care List and Animal Control for 6 months. I went in, I've seen pleas on social media. They need help. I'm all about animals. I work part-time at an animal shelter. I volunteered, been doing it for 4 years. I consider myself pretty knowledgeable. So to be asked to get the hell out, we don't need you anymore, is pretty much an insult. And who can turn away all that money, free labor? I'll take the money, I'll take it and put it back in. I'll start my own. And so with that said, we get to reapply. Well, at least we get the option of that. I appreciate it. So with being fired, will Spring Schmidt and this Carol Baskin be joining us in the unemployment lines on November 8th? Will they get to be interviewed like we do extensively? Maybe some of that money that you're saving getting rid of us can go towards these pending lawsuits or settlements of lawsuits. With that said, volunteer work is important. I looked it up. Volunteer work is important for your health. The Corporation for National and Community Services said that volunteering improves psychological and physical health. Ooh, not if you volunteer for St. Louis County. No. It'll make the mental health industry richer. I've never been in a place where there's so much division between volunteer and staff. I thought the goal was to, let's get these animals out, let's get them enriched. 3 walks a day for 10 minutes, that's not enrichment. That's relieving themselves if they haven't already done it in their kennel. And that. So enrichment is off-site. I don't know if you can do off-site. Why not? I can walk them around the office park. There's no more a threat to the community than out to a park.
30 seconds, ma'am.
Thank you. Let's see. So I will end with, I know I need to go through this process, and I will do it. They're not going to deter me. I'll go through it because the animals have no choice. They have no voice. They did not ask to be thrown out. They didn't ask to be picked up. And it's pretty bad on social media, on the Lost Pet site, when they see
Thank you.
dogs found. Don't bring them to county, do all you can.
Time is up, ma'am.
Followed by Arnie Deanhoff.
Hello, Angie Zorich, 314-686-0380. First of all, thank you, Councilwoman Clancy. I think you aren't afraid to tell what you really think, and I appreciate that. I would appreciate that from everybody here, and I think it's, you know, I don't know who you're having conversations with, but it's not, certainly not us, not you. I mean, I've talked to you a few times, but this is ridiculous. How many, 450 volunteers are being fired? Why? Why? I mean, obviously they need help there. And I don't, you know, I'll leave that to the experts, but that's an insane amount of people to turn away when they only want to help the animals. You know, coincidentally, Robert Rink is on the board of Animal Care and Control, who is the same officer who summoned a SWAT team to my house where they shot my dog.
What?
That was in 2014. And again, I don't get it. I would have gladly settled this case 3 years ago for $100,000 and an apology. But that didn't happen. That never happened. I was offered $25,001. This is ridiculous. $20 million because our officers, and this is sad. This is a sad state that we're in, and I don't know what to say, but Amir was here 2 weeks ago, and he offered you guys a video, and I would encourage all of you, if you want to see the truth about what's happening on the streets, you should watch the video. There's so many things, and I really don't want to take up too much time, but I want you to know too that Officer Rink, I'm not the first person to sue him. I'm not the first person that the county has paid a settlement. I mean, it might be the biggest one, $750,000, but it's not the last. I mean, maybe somebody will take him all the way to trial, and then maybe he'll be, I don't know, fired? Fired would be a good word. I mean, in 2017, he removed 2 children from a home Because there were derelict cars in the driveway.
30 seconds.
DFS stated that they would have never removed those children, but a 6-year-old and 2 days before a 9-year-old girl's birthday, her 6-year-old brother is autistic, by the way, spent 40 days in 5 different foster care homes before their parents were able to get them back. That's what Officer Rink is about.
Speaker, Ernie Deanhoff, followed by Erica Brooks.
Mr. Dinoff?
Thank you very much, members of the County Council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff. I'm a county and state public advocate. First of all, to the officers up front, these doors shall not be shut. To the sergeant who I filed an internal affairs complaint and the chief told him to throw it in the trash can, you are violating state law, chapter 610.
Mr. Dinoff, address your remarks.
I shake my head every week at corruption and bad things that happen in St. Louis County. When does the good news come? 450 volunteers. I said volunteers. Your bread and butter of animal control fired today in an email. Mr. Page, do the right thing, step up and rescind that email. Go to the shelter and volunteer some time with those precious animals. They need your time and attention. When you're making $130,000 a year. Wow, $19,500,000 payout. And the county is not insured. It is self-insured by taxpayer dollars. What a huge stressful week in Division 10 with the jury last week. I sat through the entire trial and boy, I learned a lot. Chief John Belmar, where in St. Louis County are you? I don't see him. Another boycott when it's convenient for Belmar. Mr. Belmar, you have severe trust, honesty, and a culture of harassment on your hands. Note for the record, Ms. County Clerk, that Chief Belmar is absent because he does not care what we, the public, are saying. I heard the lies of county police commanders, top brass in white shirts, who were lying, conniving, and mistruths will ever be ingrained in my mind. I watched them on the stand commit perjury as they forgot the constitutional oath of office that they took. Perjury is committed by people we instill trust. I saw hate in that courtroom. I saw employee discrimination. I saw retaliation. I saw civil rights violations. I saw a terrible culture, former Chief Fitch, that needs to cease right here, right now. Sexist environment, imposed horrific treatment of women, horrific treatment of African American women, officers who are not of the norm. Geography lessons were sanctioned and imposed on police employees at high taxpayer expense. I saw and heard from one mad, pissed off jury, 6 African American citizens and 6 Caucasian citizens. Chief Fitch, I've seen you the most on TV. One youth racist homophobic police department.
Your time is up.
If I could please finish.
No, sir, I'm sorry. Your time is up. You're no different than any other person.
I am shocked.
You will stop, sir, please, and
Board
vacate
is that
the
there will be
stand.
an investigation by the police.
Thank you, Mr. Dino.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Erica Brooks, followed by Dale Scheider.
Good evening, Ms. Brooks.
Good evening. I'm here. My name is Erica M. Brooks. I was a grassroots organizer to retain our bus route in Ferguson, bus number 79 and 79X. And it's been, as of tomorrow, it'll be 30 days since that Metro Reimagine process started. And you all know that Metro reached out to you all for $40 million in order to implement Metro Reimagine as far as their security and all the other stuff that's supposed to be happening. Now, one thing I want to mention that I'm hearing a lot of racism. As I told you all when I was campaigning for my bus route, that they instrumentally set up, Metro did, instrumentally set up invisible economic gated communities. So people over those 30 days have lost jobs. If you're looking at the media, listening to the radio and all the other stuff, you hear various people saying, because Metro's motto was, we're going to create better connections, faster trips, shorter waits. And that has happened. As I rode the bus a few days after it started, first day I almost got arrested because the bus driver didn't want to answer some questions and want to put me off the bus. And he wasn't ready because, first of all, the bus driver's not getting paid either. And you all, I don't see how you all assessing what their Metro is doing to make sure, first of all, that the bus drivers are being paid. Not just get security, because they know that it's going to all boil down to people losing their jobs, being frustrated, and acting out. That's the first thing I want to ask. What are you all doing actually to hold them physically accountable to make sure that that money is being spent, to make sure that we have bus rides? Because buses, some of them not showing up on time. The buses, they're not scheduled to where the bus and the Metrolink link up to where you actually get there and be able to use the other transportation. You have to wait, and so you have several, like I said, several people losing their jobs. You have these shorter routes rerouted, and so what it also does, it takes people's access out of communities. So I'd say more money is being spent on transfers on a daily basis. More money, my monthly bus passes are being bought because they can't afford it, and weekly bus passes as well. And this is basically hitting the North County and North City, not South City, not South County, not Central West End, not West County and downtown. These people have immediate access to the Metrolink, and y'all know that when y'all approve them to be able to get this money.
30 seconds, Ms. Brooks.
And so what I'm asking, like I said, the first thing was, how are you all holding them accountable? Why are you allowing them to create invisible economic gated communities and to segregate our community? When people lose their job, lose their access to communities, they're not wanted, nor will they be able to get their jobs. So how are you all going to make sure that these people keep their jobs and keep their access, and you all hold them economically accountable? Please look closely into what you are doing, because like I said, all I'm hearing is racism, division,
Thank you.
and no access.
Thank you.
And it's going to also end up in sundown town. It's going to be a sundown town here in St. Louis, Missouri. So when you have folks right here telling us to get out and say, where's your business, we're not going to have access to the city.
Your time is up, ma'am. Thank you.
Next speaker, Dale Scheider, followed by Ben Yucatel. You should tell.
Good evening, Ms. Shooter.
Good evening. My name is Dale Shooter. I reside in Richmond Heights, Missouri. I'm going to keep this quick. I'm a volunteer. You've heard it from us. We're very upset about the reboot of the volunteer program. But I do just want to address one thing to Councilman Dunaway, your question in regards to the incident that happened with the two dogs. I think the question that should be asked is, why did those employees not have the proper training or the tools to break up that fight? And I think we should be thanking Jenny for breaking up that fight and possibly saving not only those two dogs' lives, but serious injury to those two employees.
Your applause is drowning out the speaker. We can't hear her, and the recording is going to suffer as well. Proceed, ma'am.
I just want to say, there's an old saying that the definition of insanity is trying the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. And I just feel hearing everything tonight is that we are in that circle, and we need to find the answers to so many problems, including, I would hope, the shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shooter.
Final speaker, Ben Yucatel.
Thank you very much. I'm Ben Yucatel, and I wanted to talk about the loop trolley, but before that, I just want to commend the county executive for his serious and important remarks at the beginning of this hearing. And I also want to commend the county council people for listening carefully to the remarks that were made tonight. We have some serious problems, but I have confidence. I really have confidence that you're going to turn the page and move forward So, enough said on that subject. On the loop trolley, certainly has plenty of problems, but without it, without the development of the trolley, 3 major projects would not have occurred. The new safe roundabout at University City would not have occurred without the trolley project. The new bridges on Del Mar and De Bolivar would not have occurred without the loop trolley project. And finally, the new handsome greenway on De Bolivar would not have occurred without the project. In addition, the trolley has spurred development such as the Clayco 14-story apartment building and the CVS new drug pharmacy, and some big plans going forward on De Bolivar. Enough said. I could talk quite a bit more, but I think you should give it a chance. Give it a chance to see what it can do, because it's something that can be a plus for St. Louis and St. Louis County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uchitel. That ends public forum. At this time, I'm going to ask Director of the Department of Health, Spring Schmidt, to come up and just give us a report with respect to the update on the shelter audit. And I'd ask that the folks that are here on the animal shelter to show Ms. Schmidt the same courtesy you were shown in allowing her to speak. Thank you.
So I want to start out by apologizing because I do have a cold and a little bit of laryngitis, so please bear with my voice.
I'm not going to ask a second time. Go ahead.
I just want to start out by saying that we're not ending the volunteer program, and under no circumstances should anyone have used the words terminated or fired in any way that any volunteer should have been addressed at any point in this process. We are rebooting the volunteer program, which is exactly what we've been explaining in some public forums, in the way that we have been communicating via email. And if anybody has used any other language in characterizing this program from any of the staff or leadership at the ACC program, I sincerely apologize for that, because that is not my expectation of the program. We did have some significant changes that we did make to the volunteer program, and some of this is because of the audit, and some of this also because of conversations that I've had with many of the volunteer leaders, as well as other, through this process as we've moved through this. And so there are tiers that were recommended specifically by the audit. All of the tiers have some opportunities to engage in activities that were recommended by the audit. There were pieces of best practices that were additional opportunities that some of the volunteers had asked for and recommended, as well as many of the current things that folks were already doing. We had an outdated manual. Many of the things that were recommended in the manual that were things that we expected or things that we said were forbidden were things that were not being upheld by the staff of the shelter or by volunteers. So many of that stuff had been out of date for quite some time. We also had sort of mismatched records back and forth between the number of folks that we had and the kind of the completeness of everything that we had on file for them. And so we asked for and said that we would have this opportunity for a rebooted program, so that after November 8th, that we would re-interview everyone, send everyone back through orientation so that everyone had exactly the same information, was operating on the same manual at the same time, kind of moving back through there. I did say that I don't think that we could run the animal shelter as effectively without the volunteer program, and I think that's true. The volunteers do commit significant numbers of hours, unbelievable sort of attention to the animals in the shelter. They do sometimes things that the shelter staff are not able to do. They're able to mobilize in ways that the shelter staff are not able to. And I absolutely respect and value what it is that they bring to the equation. But in order to reboot the program and have everyone off on the same foot at the same time, we did set this date as an opportunity and are rolling everyone back on through the program. And I hope that everyone does. It's the exact same forms, and so it is like a hassle to go back through that process. But we haven't added in a whole bunch of additional sort of ways in which to try to suppress any particular voices in this process, or try to restrict this program or restrict people from coming and participating in this program. We do need a robust volunteer program, and I really respect the the ways in which our community pushes us to constantly move forward, and we do have a lot of things to do. We do have to talk about how staff and volunteers respect each other, and it's a mutual piece. We have cultural issues and relationship issues at every single level, and it is incredibly difficult to manage and negotiate through each of those conversations at every level. And when they don't go well, we have processes in place so that people can feel heard and respected. And what we would like to do is offer volunteers the same process we would offer employees, for some deliberate attention and process to make sure that people feel heard and that they have the opportunity to be addressed. And that is similar to the way that employers are treated throughout that process. And if there is accountability past that, that is in fact what is delivered to volunteers respectfully as well as to employees. And those are some of the pieces in how those things are moving forward. That is what we asked. This is not terminating the volunteer program. We will have volunteers in St. Louis County Animal Care and Control. I hope these volunteers all come back and put in the application. And yes, they'll sit with an interview for folks, which is fairly common in a lot of shelters. Yes, it is. And the orientation, which is similar.
All right, that's it. Officer, please remove that woman. I won't have profanity in this room.
She said circle. I said circle. She said circle profanity.
Many of these recommendations are recommendations that are directly out of the audit. We have asked other shelters.
She's talking nonsense. She's what happens to the right here, Jenny Agnew, Spring Smith. Why don't you put her back here? The email.
Help for the animals.
Can you read the email?
Which?
Liar, pants on fire. And they all believe you like sheep.
Please proceed, Ms. Schmidt.
These divisions that we face.
I'm gonna get a lawyer.
You do that. You do that. You do that. Go ahead, Ms. Schmidt.
This is evident of the kinds of divisions, the cultural issues that we face. This is what the staff face. This is what volunteers face. The level of cultural and relationship division that we have in some of this space is hard. And that doesn't mean that we're not trying to move forward as collaboratively as possible. We've offered collaboration and are still open to it, and I'll continue to open that space every single time.
Thank you. Any questions from any of the council members?
I have a few.
Yes.
Councilwoman Clancy.
I'm disappointed so many people left because I think you have some important things to say. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is something I think people need to understand. So, are there going to be days that you will not have volunteers at the shelter because of the reboot?
So I don't think there will be like several. So I've talked to the staff about offering interviews immediately, making multiple staff available that day, as well as rolling orientation both on November 8th as well as November 9th, and then some planned orientations to move people through the process after that. So there may be some backlog in a few, but we'll get a few volunteers, especially some of those that work constantly, rolled back on as quickly as possible.
Okay, so you have a plan to address any gaps, you're saying?
That's correct. We also, the animal control officers that are working the night shift will start walking at 4:30, which is not something that they're currently doing. So instead of being like out on patrol, they'll start walking at 4:30. And we do have a dog walker that started yesterday.
And the volunteer program changes that you're working through right now were recommendations in, I think, section 5 of the audit. Is there anything you're straying from? What was recommended?
Like we added in some things, and the audit recommended that we ask the volunteers to schedule. At the meeting that we had, that was clearly something that the volunteers were not in favor of. And so they suggested some language around encouraging scheduling, but not mandating it, so we did adopt that. And there were, I think there was a piece towards we're including more of the social media and a wider variety of some of the marketing pieces than they originally suggested. We actually expanded on more best practices that we were including.
Thank you. And thanks for those of you who did stick around to finish listening to what Spring Schmidt had to say. I do appreciate that.
Anyone else? Councilman Harder.
Mr. Schmidt, who's doing the marketing for the animal shelter now?
So we're training some of the internal employees to do that currently. So the public information director for the health department has been giving them some new templates and beginning to slowly build that out. It's been difficult. There's no particular skill or expertise at this point, but some of the things, and we've gotten some feedback, so we're continuing to incorporate that in. But it's not a natural skill set that's there but we're slowly training them. But we have increased our Facebook presence and likes and responses from some of the new pieces that we've put out.
So is that one person that handles that, or is it multiple people?
It's parts of one person at the shelter. We don't have a full-time person to do social media marketing.
And is Miss Daly doing this?
No, she has set up the template pieces for them to work with, but it is a shelter staff person who's been creating them.
So how many animals are there tonight?
So I think we were at 370, and I don't know for today for sure, but there were 370 yesterday, I think.
And what is our maximum?
So our actual capacity to comfortably handle should be like around 200 animals. So there is capacity in the shelter, but there's not staff capacity.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. We do.
Councilman Walton Gray.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, first of all, all I can say is I'm shocked. I know you came to my office, but I wasn't aware of the totality of what was going on. As I told you, the animal shelter in my community is just not a priority because we have so much going on with other issues.
Sure.
But I said this before, the way we treat people is sad to me. The things that have happened this past couple of weeks and the way we treat, I have to have compassion for animals too, because I care about people. And I'm just shocked that this process is going on. And I want the audience, and like she said, I hate that there's so many left, they think that we know everything or we're asked. No one asked us, did we think this was a good idea or a bad idea? And I'm not saying it's good or bad because I don't know the total circumstances, but we weren't included in this. At least I know I wasn't. I'll speak for myself. And I know you're standing here, but I have to try to talk to everybody behind you. And, but between this and the police department, something has to be done. But again, we don't control everything. We don't control the police department. There was a charter that was written over probably 40 years ago that we have to abide by, and it has a provision in there for the police department. And I put in several bills are still on this agenda where I've tried to do something about that. And I'm sorry again that you're standing there, but I have to put it all in one. Comments off to come back. And I'm just saying, I'm just shocked about what I just heard. And I just wanted you all to know that anything I can do, which I don't have a lot, but I would like to hear from you. And it's important to me.
Councilwoman Days.
Thank you. We did have a conversation about this, and I was appalled at how so many people could get the wrong idea. And I'm asking you, all these people did not get the same memo and said that they were not to return, and then they somehow misunderstood that. I'm trying to figure out how that happens. Because clearly if there's a written word, then, I mean, the word should be very clear. So can you explain to me how they got I guess you're saying it's a misunderstanding.
Well, I actually did not write or proof the email that went out to the volunteers.
So who did? That's another question. Who did write the memo?
The volunteer coordinator.
And who is that?
Well, She's a staff member her name is Lisa, but she's a staff member at ACC. And so I do believe that she used the word reboot in terms of the language. I don't believe that she used the word terminated, or, that anyone was fired, or any of that language. And the reboot language is language that I have given in multiple, conversations and emails back and forth too. So I don't believe that she used the word terminated or fired.
Okay, well, somehow they got that impression. This started before I even got on the council. So I'm questioning, I'm looking at the audit. I have not seen the audit. So the audit is telling me, according to some of my colleagues, the audit suggested that you reboot the volunteer program.
Yes, ma'am. It said it
Did
needs
they give you any
significant
kind of
changes.
parameters in which to do that?
Yes, it recommended a tiered approach. It recommended some constraints around uniforms, some conversations towards like the different types of activities that, some of which we currently do, but other recommendations for activities that volunteers could be doing. It talked about some scheduling opportunities and having a kiosk up in the front, the way that which they interact with staff. It talked about some of the cultural issues as well between staff and volunteers.
Okay, because as you know, I did tell you that I have adopted from your shelter, and I was absolutely appalled at what I'm hearing happen there. And I actually had one from the 80 road. I don't think you have that one anymore.
No, we don't.
It moved over to Warson, but I just could not imagine going to a place like that and not having my potential animal taken care of like they should. So thank you for your answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's proceed with introduction of bills.
Bill number 297, introduced by Councilmember Tracus. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a grant of up to $256,367.44 from the Missouri Department of Public Safety, appropriating the same for support of the cybercrime program, and authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents. Bill number 298, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a grant of up to $124,023 from the United States Department of Justice, appropriating the same for purchase of 27 mobile data terminals for police vehicles, authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents. Bill number 299, introduced by Councilmember Harder, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute airport use agreements with Joda LLC, Arnold Companies LLC, Spirit Flight West LLC, Property Leasing Company, Spirit Flight East LLC, Spirit Aviation Properties LLC, Terra Rosa LLC, Drury Development Corporation, and Crown Diversified Industries Corp. Bill number 300, introduced by Councilmember Days, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Bi-State Development Agency of the Missouri-Illinois Metropolitan District pertaining to maintenance of a bus stop located at 6121 North Hanley Road. Bill number 301, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Involve Pharmacy Solutions, Inc. for health center pharmacy services for the Department of Public Health. Bill number 302, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending ordinance number 27,497 by repealing and reenacting Section 1 pertaining to grants from the Missouri Department of Economic Development, Division of Workforce Development for support of programs and services related to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Bill number 303, introduced by Councilmember Dunaway, an ordinance approving acceptance of donation of $115,499.47 from the Mary Ann Ryman Living Trust and appropriating same for support of installation of Creve Coeur Family Trail Pods, components of the Creve Coeur Park. Bill number 304, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending the St. Louis County zoning ordinance and district maps by changing the boundaries of the C3 shopping district and the C8 planned commercial district, and approving the application and preliminary plans for the development in the C8 planned commercial district of a tract of land subject to conditions, PC 33-19 Afton Plaza JV LLC. Bill number 305, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray, an ordinance approving the application and preliminary plans for the amended development in the C8 planned commercial district of a tract of land subject to conditions and repealing ordinance 25,723 PC 35-19 Turk LLC. Bill number 306, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray, an ordinance amending the St. Louis County zoning ordinance and district maps by changing the boundaries of the C3 and FPC-3 shopping districts and the C8 and FPC-8 planned commercial districts, and approving the application and preliminary and revised plans as amended for the development in the C8 planned commercial district of attractive land subject to conditions, PC 36-19, Intellica CRE. Mr. Presiding Officer, that is all the bills.
Very well, let's proceed with perfections of bills, please.
Bill number 20, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Please hold Bill 20.
Bill number 20 is held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill 284, introduced by Councilmembers Clancy and Walton Gray.
We had a hearing today, and I think we're gonna be having another one. There's still some more folks that wanna be heard, so I will hold this tonight.
Very well, substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 284 is held.
Bill number 292, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 292.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 292 is perfected.
Bill number 293, introduced by Councilmember Tracus. Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 293, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept an additional grant of up to $107,631.64 from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, appropriating the same for support of expansion of leased space for the police department and authorizing execution of related documents.
I move for adoption of substitute Bill 1 for Bill number 293.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 293 is adopted. That being the case, I move to perfect substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 293.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 293 is perfected.
Bill number 294, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 294. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 294 is perfected.
Bill number 295, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move to perfect Bill number 295.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 295 is perfected.
Bill number 296, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move to perfect Bill number 296.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 296 is perfected. Final passage.
Bill number 286, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 286.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill 286, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 286 is finally passed.
Bill number 287, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to for final passage of Bill number 287.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill 287, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 287 is finally passed.
Bill number 288, introduced by Councilmember Days for Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move for final passage of Bill number 288.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill 288, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 288 is finally passed.
Bill number 289, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move for final passage of Bill number 289.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill 289, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 289 is finally passed.
Bill number 290, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill 290.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill 290, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 290 is finally passed.
Bill number 291, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill 291.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Days.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunaway.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill 291, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 291 is finally passed.
Moving on to resolutions, we have no additional resolutions this evening,
Very well.
so we'll move on to unfinished business.
Very well.
Item number 1, 3rd District.
Please hold in the order of business. So ordered.
Item number 2,
This is regarding the appointment of Ms. Dee Joyner to the Board of Freeholders, so I move that the council approve Ms. Joyner's appointment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Joyner is approved.
item number 3,
This is for the appointment of Mr. Malcolm Sweet to the Board of Plumbing Examiners. And we had a hearing today and met Mr. Sweet, and based on that, I'm going to move that Mr. Sweet's appointment to the Board of Plumbing Examiners be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Sweet's appointment has been approved.
item number 4,
Item number 4 involves the appointment of Mr. Marion Hayes to the Board of Electric Examiners and the reappointment of Ms. Emily Ashinger Martin to the same board. We had a hearing today. They both came before the council and answered questions. Based on that, I move for the acceptance of the appointment of Mr. Hayes and the reappointment of Ms. Ashinger Martin.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hayes' appointment is approved, and Ms. Ashinger Martin's reappointment is approved. Mr. Kurt Canova did not appear today, and so we'll hold that on the order of business.
item number 5,
Please hold on the order of business, and that'll be the order.
item number 6,
Hold on the order of business, same motion through item number 9, and that will be the order.
item number 10, 4th District.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 11,
Hold on the order of business, and that will be the order.
moving on to new business, there are 3 prepared orders this evening.
I move for the adoption of order number 1.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Order number 1 is adopted.
And I move for the adoption of order number 2 and order number 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Orders number 2 and 3 are adopted. Anything further from any council members?
I am appalled by how Spring Schmidt was treated this evening. It speaks volumes about some of the issues that we are facing right now. We got to find a way to move forward here.
There's no doubt, I agree with you 100%. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. When you have any group of people that are intransigent and refuse to even consider the idea of rethinking how something is done and demand their way and only their way, this is what we're confronted with. And there needs to be some concession on both sides. I believe Ms. Spring Schmidt and her staff has done everything they could to adopt the recommendations in the audit, and that should proceed.
Yep.
Anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, we're adjourned.